I choose her. She rides with me.
Mara Ellery walked the dusty road of Dry Creek with her basket tight against her chest. Clara Briggs spotted her first. "There she goes," Clara said from the porch rail. "The leftover widow." Tom Briggs laughed. "She ain't even a widow. No man ever tried." Mara kept her head low. "Morning," she told the shopkeeper, but he turned away as two women whispered behind their hands. At the well, a boy pointed at the thin scar down her cheek. "Mama, what happened to her face?" She flinched. His mother hushed him but offered no kindness. Mara's voice barely rose. "Just passing through." She lifted her basket again, hoping to slip away before Clara reached her. Clara stepped into her path. "Trading laundry again, Mara?" she asked. "Must be heavy work for someone built like you." Tom snorted. Mara whispered, "Please let me by." Clara smirked. "Someone needs to learn to stand straight." Mara edged around them and hurried toward the sheriff's office. Two deputies hammered fresh notices onto the board. The sheriff turned. "Auction next week," he said. "Labor contracts for folks behind on dues." Mara scanned the list. Her stomach knotted. "Sheriff, why is my name here?" He shrugged. "Ledger says you owe." Mara shook her head. "I paid last month." Mrs. Dowlow signed it. Tom appeared behind her. "Guess she lied," he said. Clara added, "Or maybe someone's been hiding debts." Mara tried to steady her voice. "Please recheck it." The sheriff folded his arms. "Bring proof." A few townspeople drifted closer. Snickers rose. Mara whispered, "I can't be in an auction. I did nothing wrong." Clara leaned close. "You'll be the main show." Mara picked up her basket, fingers shaking. "I'll find the receipt," she said. Tom called, "Hope someone bids quick." She walked away, dust swirling around her boots. The tin roofs rattled in the wind, but the laughter followed every step. She found Mrs. Dowlow sweeping outside the feed store. Mara said, "Do you remember my tax payment?" Mrs. Dowlow nodded. "I stamped it myself." Mara exhaled. "Could you tell the sheriff?" "They put my name on the auction list." Mrs. Dowlow sighed. "I'll speak to him, but he listens to who he wants." Mara thanked her and turned back toward the square. Clara's voice cut through the crowd. "Look at her running about like a scared hen." Mara stopped. "You have no right." Tom answered, "We got every right." People gathered, waiting to see if she'd cry. Mara managed, "I'll fix the mistake." But when she reached the board again, her name still hung there in bold ink. The sheriff didn't look up. The townspeople watched her silently, some smiling, some curious. Mara felt the old heat of shame rise from her throat to her eyes. She gripped the basket until her hands ached. Clara called, "Maybe someone will buy her cheap." A few men laughed. Mara said, "I am not for sale." The sheriff finally turned. "Until you show proof, the listing stays." Mara searched his face. "I'm telling the truth." He shrugged. "Bring the paper." Mara took a step back. The crowd shifted, boots scraping, skirts brushing the dust. Tom whispered loud enough for all to hear, "She'll look good on a platform." Her chest tightened. She felt her breath shorten. She said, "I'll return with the receipt." But as she moved away, two boys ran past, shouting, "Auction girl!" Her jaw trembled. She held the basket close and walked toward the edge of town, trying not to run. The sky dimmed with drifting clouds. A stray dog barked near the livery. Mara stopped, wiping her palms on her skirt. "It's a mistake," she whispered. "It has to be." But the laughter still echoed behind her. She looked once more at the square. The notice hung in the center, her name clear as day. People pointed. Clara held her chin high. Mara felt her legs go weak. She steadied herself against a post, blinked hard, and turned toward Mrs. Dallow's shop. Her voice shook as she whispered, "If they leave my name there, they'll drag me onto that platform." The thought chilled her as the crowd's laughter rolled on behind her. Mara stood in the dust behind the sheriff's office while the crowd gathered. Tom Briggs pointed at her. "Look who's up first." Clara smirked beside him. "She'll fetch a fine laugh." Mara swallowed hard. "Sheriff Halden, please listen. My name was posted by mistake." The sheriff checked a paper without raising his head. "Debt is debt, and someone must pay it." Mara shook her head. "I paid already." Halden waved her off. "Then prove it." A man in a torn vest chuckled. "Maybe she can work it off with heavy lifting." Another added, "She's built for it." Mara stepped back as the circle closed. "Please stop," she whispered. Clara nudged her friend. "Let her talk. It makes the show better." Mara's voice trembled. "I don't belong here." Tom barked, "You do now." The auction runner lifted his hand. "First labor contract, Mara Ellery." The crowd cheered. Mara felt her knees weaken. "I'm not for sale," she said. The runner ignored her. Opening bid. A man near the front raised his hat. $2 for the scarred one. Laughter rolled across the yard. Mara stared at the ground. "Don't do this," she whispered. Clara said loudly, "Turn your face so they can see the mark." Mara froze. "Leave me be." Clara shrugged. "If they're paying, they should know what they're buying." Mara covered her cheek with her hand. The runner called, "Any higher?" Another man shouted, $2.50. "She'll last longer than the skinny ones." Mara closed her eyes. "Please," she said again. The sheriff muttered, "Stand still, Mara." She answered, "You're letting them mock me." Halden replied, "You got a debt. That's what matters." Mara clenched her hands. Dust swirled around her skirt as the sun pressed down. A tall man near the back shifted his weight. Mara heard him say softly, "This is wrong." Tom spun around. "What's it to you?" The tall man didn't answer. Clara sneered, "Some hero showing up." The man's eye stayed on Mara. "She shouldn't be here." Mara whispered, "Why does no one listen?" The runner called again, $2.50 going once. Mara felt the world tighten. "Please let me go," she said to the sheriff. Halden sighed. "Don't make a fuss." Mara looked at Clara. "You enjoy this?" Clara smiled. "You owe the town a little entertainment." A group of young men stepped forward. $3, one said. "We'll make her work the ranch yard." Another added, "Maybe keep her for laughs." Mara's breath caught. "I can't do this," she whispered. A child tugged his father's sleeve. "Papa, why are they yelling at her?" The father said, "Hush." Mara lifted her head. "Is there no kindness in this town?" Clara scoffed. "Not for you." The runner raised his voice. $3 going once. Mara looked toward the open road, wishing she could disappear into the long stretch of dust and sky. Then the tall man stepped forward. His boot struck the ground with a slow, steady thud. "I'll take her," he said. The crowd went silent. Mara's eyes widened. "What?" she breathed. Tom spat, "Who are you?" The man answered, "Cole Hart." Clara laughed. "You want her?" Cole didn't look at her. "Yes." The runner blinked. "Price?" Cole said, "Whatever clears her name." Mara whispered, "You don't know me." Cole replied, "I know enough." He set coins on the table. The metal clinked sharply. Tom growled, "You're a fool." Cole met his glare. "Maybe." Clara snapped, "She'll slow you down." Cole answered, "That's my concern." Mara hugged her arms around herself. "Why would you claim me?" He said, "Because no one else should." The sheriff scratched his chin. "Payment accepted." The runner ended, "Sold." The crowd murmured in disbelief. Mara looked at Cole, her voice barely a breath. "I didn't ask for rescue." Cole replied, "Didn't need to." The crowd parted as he stepped beside her. Mara trembled, unsure whether to trust or flee. Clara whispered loudly, "Let's see how long he keeps her." Mara felt the sting but kept her eyes down. Cole said quietly, "You're leaving with me." Mara whispered, "I don't understand." Cole answered, "You will." The dust swirled around their feet as the crowd watched in restless silence. Mara wondered why a stranger would claim someone the whole town mocked. She looked at him again, her voice thin. "Are you sure about this?" Cole gave a single nod. "Sure enough." The crowd murmured behind them. Mara felt a pull of fear and hope mixing as she followed his first step away. Cole walked beside Mara toward his horse, keeping a careful distance, as though any sudden move might send her running. "You ride with me," he said quietly. "Only if you're willing." She hesitated, fingers tightening around her sleeve. "I don't have much choice." He shook his head. "You've got every choice. I'm offering a ride." She studied him, wary. "And you're saying I'm safe?" Cole touched the saddle with slow, respectful hands. "As safe as I can make you." Mara climbed up, breath shaking. Cole mounted behind her but stayed back, giving her all the space the saddle allowed. Dust curled around the horse's hooves as they started across the fading light. "Name's Cole Hart," he said. "Didn't want you wondering." She murmured, "Names don't tell much." He gave a quiet chuckle. "Mine sure doesn't." She watched the reins in his hands. He held them like something fragile. "You treat that leather kinder than most treat folks," she said. Cole answered, "Learned it the hard way." They moved beneath cottonwoods whispering in the wind. "You hurt bad?" he asked. Mara kept her gaze ahead. "Only in ways no doctor fixes." Cole nodded, jaw tightening. "Town can be cruel." She whispered, "Cruel is a soft word." Fields stretched wide, gold fading beneath the lowering sun. "We'll be at the ranch soon," Cole said. "You doing all right?" She replied, "I'm staying on the horse." "That's enough." He glanced at her rigid shoulders. "If you need quiet, take it." Mara said, "Quiet's all I want." As the mountains glowed orange, the ranch came into view, fences long, barns dark against the sky. Lewis stepped out from the stable. "Boss, you bring company." Cole nodded. "Mara Ellery." "She'll be staying a bit." Danny looked up from stacking feed. "She run into trouble." Cole said, "Trouble found her." Old Finch hobbled closer, eyes gentle beneath his battered hat. "Girl needs supper," Finch said. Mara shook her head. "Don't fuss." Finch grunted. "Not fussing. Feeding." Cole motioned her along. Inside the cookhouse, lantern light warmed the cedar walls. Danny set a bowl of stew on the table. "Hope this sits all right." Mara's voice was barely a whisper. "Thank you." Cole sat across from her, elbows light on the table, careful not to crowd her even with words. "Eat what you want. No one expects anything from you." Her eye stayed on the bowl. "Feels like I owe someone something." Cole shook his head. "Not here." She lifted the spoon with trembling fingers. "I don't know where else to go." Cole said softly, "Then stay tonight." "That's enough." When the meal ended, he walked her toward the bunkhouse. Crickets flickered through the grass, and the night air carried dust and pine. "Room small," he said, opening the door, "but it's clean, and it's yours." Mara stepped inside. A single bed, a folded quilt, a table with a lantern, simple, but more than she expected. "It's good," she whispered. Cole stayed at the door, hat in hand. No one here aims to harm you. She searched his face, unsure. Thank you, she said. He tipped his hat. If you need anything, call out. When the door closed, the quiet settled heavy. Mara sat on the bed, hands trembling. Tears rose before she could stop them. She bent forward, shoulders shaking. Outside, hoofbeats drifted from the corral, steady and faint. Wind rustled the grass. After a while, she stood and wiped her face. The night sky lay deep beyond the small window. Cole stood alone near the corral fence, arms crossed, eyes raised toward the stars. Lantern glow touched his profile. He looked burdened, though by what she could not guess. Mara watched him silently, wondering what kind of man carried his own heaviness yet made room for hers. For a moment, she let herself breathe, the quiet settling around her like a blanket she hadn't felt in years. The ranch was unfamiliar, yet something in its stillness eased the tightness in her chest. She wondered if trust could grow in soil as rough as this land. Maybe safety wasn't a promise but a slow walk toward something steadier, something earned through small mercies and careful hands in the dim hush of night. Life on the ranch began with quiet mornings, cool air drifting through the cottonwoods as Mara stepped into the yard with cautious steps. I can help with chores, she said, voice thin as thread. Cole glanced over from the corral and replied, only if you're ready. She nodded, though her hands trembled. Lewis handed her a bucket. Just carry it slow, he advised. His tone held no mockery. She tried, but the handle slipped, water splashing across her boots. Danny whispered to Lewis, she's scared of everything. The word stung, though Danny's voice carried more worry than cruelty. Mara bent to pick up the bucket, but Cole reached her first. He knelt beside her, dust rising around his knee. You don't have to rush, he said gently. She lifted her eyes a little, startled by the softness there. Folks hurry when they think someone's waiting to judge. He righted the bucket with steady fingers. I'm not trying to cause trouble, she murmured. You're not, he answered. Chores take time. Old Finch ambled over, a lantern swinging from his hand though the sun already climbed the ridge. Let her start with the feed shed, he suggested. Simple work. No hurry. Mara followed him, listening to the lantern's faint clink. Finch showed her how to sort grain with slow, patient gestures. Just like this, he said. Nothing to fear here. She breathed easier in the dim shed light. Thank you, she whispered. Finch only nodded, as if kindness required no explanation. By afternoon, clouds gathered far off, dragging long shadows across the yard. Danny approached her with a small smile. Didn't mean to spook you earlier, she said. Just worried you'd fall. Mara studied her face, searching for mockery, but found none. I fall plenty, Mara answered softly. Well, we all do, Danny said. Lewis fell off the hay wagon last week. Didn't hurt nothing except his pride. Lewis shouted from across the yard, I heard that. Danny laughed, and even Mara managed a faint smile. As evening cooled the air, she entered the bunkhouse and found a soft shawl hanging on the hook beside her door. She touched the fabric, warm and finely woven. Finch, passing by, paused. Cole left that for you, he said quietly. Mornings get cold up here. He didn't have to, she whispered. Kindness isn't a debt, Finch said. Not here. At supper, she sat at the long wooden table while stew simmered over the stove. Lewis asked, you settle in all right? Mara shrugged. I'm trying. Cole looked up from his plate. Trying is enough, he said. She lowered her gaze, unsure how to meet such words. The wind picked up outside, sending dust scudding along the porch boards. Storms turning east, Danny noted. Shouldn't trouble us. Cole nodded. Good. Got fences to mend tomorrow. Mara set down her spoon. I can help, she said. Cole met her eyes briefly. Only if you want to. I want to do something useful. You already are, he replied. The comment left her breath caught and unsteady. Just then, hoofbeats echoed along the road. Tom Briggs rode past the ranch gate, slowing enough to shout, "Here Cole's collecting strays now." His laughter rang sharp in the fading light. Pity's a strange thing for a man to spend coin on. Mara froze, the stew turning to stone in her stomach. Danny muttered, "Ignore him." Lewis scowled. "Man's got a tongue like a rusted nail." Cole said nothing until Briggs disappeared down the road. Then he rose, collected the dishes, and carried them to the wash basin. His calmness unsettled her more than anger would have. She followed him outside where lantern light glimmered across the porch. "I didn't mean for trouble to follow me," she said. "It's not your trouble," he replied. "It's his noise. People believe noise." "Only for a moment," he said. "Truth lasts longer." She stared at her boots. "Why are you being kind?" He leaned against a post, the lantern casting gold along his shoulders. "Because kindness keeps a place honest." His voice held no judgment, only tired certainty. Later, as night settled deep and the bunkhouse quieted, Mara heard Finch and Cole talking by the corral. Finch's voice drifted through the dark. "Town-stirring nonsense again." Cole answered, "Let them. No one deserves to be laughed at." Mara lay still, her breath wavering. She wondered if he truly meant her, and why that thought felt as dangerous as it was comforting. Hope flickered despite her fear tonight. Morning settled warm and steady over the ranch as Mara swept the barn aisle, brushing straw aside while horses shifted in their stalls. Cole leaned against a post nearby. "They like your voice," he said. "Keeps them calm." She paused, unsure. "I'm hardly talking." He shrugged lightly. "Doesn't take much. Animals hear what folks don't say." She kept sweeping. "I'm learning," she murmured. Cole nodded. "You're doing fine." Later, while he saddled a bay gelding, he told her, "Storm rolled through this valley 5 years back. Took half my fence line." She listened, watching how his hands moved through the leather straps. He continued, "Rebuilt it piece by piece. Hard work teaches patience." She felt something loosen inside her chest, though she said nothing in return. By afternoon, 2 neighbor children rode up the lane. Emma, small and bright-eyed, waved at Mara. "Can we see the kittens?" Luke hopped off his pony. Finch said they were in the loft. Mara hesitated, but Emma took her hand. "Come on." In the loft, dust drifted through golden beams of light. Emma reached toward the faint scar along Mara's cheek. "Does it hurt?" she asked. The question held no judgment, only curiosity. Mara swallowed. "Not anymore." Emma nodded. "Good. People shouldn't hurt." Luke added, "Mama says scars mean someone kept going." Mara blinked hard, unable to answer. When the children left, she lingered in the loft doorway. Cole approached quietly. "They like you," he said. "Children see clear." Mara rubbed her sleeve. "They don't know better yet." He replied, "Maybe they know best." But whispers in town thickened like dust before a storm. Finch returned from the mercantile shaking his head. "Clara Briggs says you're hiding folks from the law," he told Cole. Danny scoffed. "Clara says wind itself gossips." Finch added, "She claims Mara's taking advantage of a lonely cowboy." Mara stood frozen near the pump, the words sinking into her like burrs. "She doesn't even know me," she said quietly. Lewis stepped closer. "Then her talk means nothing." But Mara lowered her gaze. "Town believes what it wants." That evening, orange light faded behind the hills as she approached Cole near the corral. He brushed down the bay gelding, movement slow and even. "I should leave," she said. His hand paused mid-stroke. "No," he replied. "You've done nothing wrong." "The talk will only get worse," she insisted. Folks always find something to twist. Cole's jaw tensed. Let them talk. Words don't build your life unless you let them. She shook her head. You didn't hear what they said during the auction. They laughed like I was nothing. He stepped closer, voice low. You're not leaving because of them. She pulled back slightly. I'm leaving because staying feels like stealing from you. He frowned. No one steals by existing. Mara wrapped her arms around herself. I can't undo how people see me. Cole looked away toward the fading sky. You deserve peace, not running. She whispered, peace doesn't hold. He exhaled, long and heavy. If you walk out of here, it won't be because I sent you. She turned before he could say more. Inside the bunkhouse, she folded her few belongings, the shawl he'd given her, one spare dress, a worn hairbrush. Danny appeared in the doorway. You leaving? Mara nodded. Rumors aren't your burden, Danny said gently. Let folks eat their own lies. They always do. I can't stay and watch trouble grow, Mara answered. Lewis stepped in behind Danny. Cole won't let anyone harm you, he said. Mara shook her head. He shouldn't have to defend me at all. When both of them left, she tied her small bundle shut. Finch stopped her at the threshold. Running never quieted a cruel tongue, he said. But standing sometimes can. She looked down. I don't know how. Finch sighed. Then learn here. With us. She offered a faint, sad smile. Thank you. But some lessons come too late. Night settled deep, the barns dim under lantern glow. Mara stepped outside, breathing the cold air. The sky spilled with stars, sharp and distant. She whispered, tomorrow. At dawn. Before lying down, she glanced toward the ranch house. A single lamp still burned in Cole's window, but she turned away quickly, afraid of the pull in her chest. Just as first light crept across the horizon, she rose and gathered her bundle. Boots soft against the ground, she stepped onto the porch. Then she froze. Riders approached fast down the lane, voices raised with anger, hooves striking hard against the dry earth. And Mara knew dawn would not bring the escape she had planned. Mara stepped onto the porch, clutching her small bundle, the morning air cold against her cheeks. Hoofbeats thundered down the lane. Tom Briggs and two riders closed in, dust billowing around them. Tom swung off his horse first, boots striking hard against the ground. There she is, he announced. Knew she'd try sneaking off. Mara froze. Her breath caught as Tom pointed at her. Cole Hart stole her from a legal auction. Town says she comes back to settle things proper. Cole stepped out of the barn, wiping his hands on a cloth. Morning, Tom, he said evenly. You're loud for this hour. Tom scowled. Don't play polite. You cheated the town. She wasn't yours to claim. She's not property, Cole replied. One of Tom's friends snorted. Town disagrees. Sheriff disagrees. Papers were posted. Mara backed up a step. Finch emerged from the bunkhouse, leaning on his cane. Lewis followed, jaw tight. Tom saw them and smirked. Whole ranch running to hide her. Figures. Cole moved closer to Mara, but his voice stayed calm. You're not taking her. Tom laughed and reached for Mara's arm. She stiffened, yet before his fingers brushed her sleeve, Cole stepped between them, blocking the grab with a sharp movement that startled even the horses. Don't, Cole said quietly. Tom's smile twisted. Look at the hero. You think she's worth trouble? Lewis stepped up beside Cole. Step back, Briggs. Finch stood on the other side, cane planted in the dirt like a post driven deep. Tom shrugged. Town wants her returned. The town wants a show, Cole answered. That's different. Tom's friend spat into the dust. Auction's law. That auction was wrong, Cole replied. You know it. Tom jabbed a finger toward Mara. She owes debt. She owes nothing here, Cole said. Not a coin. Mara stared at the ground, trembling. Her voice cracked as she whispered, I don't want more trouble. Tom heard her and seized on it. See? She's scared. Best come quiet. Cole's expression darkened. She's scared because of men like you. Tom shoved him lightly. Move aside, heart. Cole didn't budge. If you want to shame someone, he said, each word steady, pick me. Leave her be. Silence stretched across the yard, thick as heat before lightning. Tom's face flushed red. You think you're above town? Think you're some kind of savior? No, Cole answered. Just a man who won't let you hurt her again. Lewis stepped forward another inch. You've been told. Ride home. Tom glanced between them, 3 men standing still as iron. Even the horses grew uneasy, stamping the dry earth. Tom's friend muttered, ain't worth a fight. The other nodded. Tom spat a curse, reeled on his reins, and swung into the saddle. This isn't done, he warned. Town will hear every word of this. Cole didn't blink. Then tell it straight. Tom jerked his horse around. Dust rose in a hostile cloud as the riders galloped back the way they came. Mara exhaled for the first time in what felt like minutes. Her hands trembled so hard she nearly dropped the bundle she had prepared for her escape. Cole turned toward her, voice softer now. You all right? She nodded, though her breath shook. You didn't have to do that. Yes, he said gently, I did. Finch tapped his cane once. Men like Tom count on fear. Good to remind them fear isn't law. Lewis added, he won't try that grab again. Mara's eyes shifted between them. You could have been hurt. Cole met her gaze, steady as a quiet river. Some things are worth standing for. She swallowed hard. Why? She asked. Why risk yourself for me? He took a slow breath. Because you deserve dignity. Because no one gets to drag you through dirt for sport. The word struck her deeper than the morning chill. She set her bundle down, her shoulders trembling, not with fear this time, but something closer to disbelief. Lewis nodded toward the ranch house. Breakfast is still warm. Finch turned toward the barn. Town will be stirred like hornets by noon. Cole gave a small nod. Let them come. Mara stood there a moment longer, staring at the trail of dust fading into the rising sun. Something inside her shifted, fragile but real. Cole had defended her, openly, fiercely, without shame. And as word began to spread across Dry Creek, the town started choosing sides. Mara walked beside Cole along the dusty path to town, her shawl drifting around her shoulders in the morning breeze. You don't have to come, she said quietly. Cole shook his head. I'm just walking the same direction. His steady presence kept her feet moving. When they reached the general store, whispers rose at once. Mrs. Dowlow looked up. Morning, Mara. Need flour today? Her warm tone cut through the gossip. Mara nodded. Yes, Tom Briggsy's cousin muttered, Cole's charity project, loud enough for her to hear. Mara stiffened, but Cole said, we're here for supplies, nothing else. Outside, Mara sighed. They don't stop. Cole handed her the sack. You can't control their talk. She met his eyes. It feels like I'm shrinking again. He answered, not from where I stand. Back at the ranch, Cole led a gentle mare forward. Her name's Willow. Try sitting in the saddle. Mara hesitated. I might fall. Cole gave a small smile. Then I'll be here to catch you. She mounted slowly, gripping the reins. Easy, Cole said. Willow stepped forward, hooves soft against the pasture grass. Mara wobbled but stayed upright. You're doing fine. She let out a shaky laugh, the first in years. Lewis leaned on the fence. Look at her go. Finch nodded. Straight as sunrise. Mara guided Willow in a circle. Feels lighter than walking, she said. Cole replied, riding lifts a person. That evening, Mara carried hay to the barn. Her steps felt steadier. She adjusted the shawl with pride. But when she opened the barn door, voices drifted inside. Clara Briggs stood with 2 town girls. She thinks a shawl makes her pretty, Clara scoffed. Cole only protects her because he feels sorry for damaged women. The words hit Mara like a thrown stone. The girls laughed. Wait till the gathering, Clara whispered. Mara waited until they left, then slipped inside, sinking against a stall gate. Tears spilled fast. Footsteps approached. Mara. Cole stood in the doorway, lantern light soft on his face. She wiped her cheeks. Clara says you only help me because you pity broken things. Cole set the lantern on a beam. Is that what you think? She stared at the floor. I don't know. He knelt beside her. Mara, look at me. She raised her eyes slowly. You are not broken. She tried to speak, but he continued, you survived cruelty. That makes you strong. She covered her face. Why does it still hurt? He answered, because wounds heal slow. She exhaled shakily. They're planning something for the gathering. Cole's jaw tightened. Let them try. Mara shook her head. I don't want more trouble. He lifted her hand. You're learning to stand tall. That scares people who push others down. She swallowed. What if I can't face them? Cole rose and offered his hand. Then I'll stand with you. But I think you can. She let him pull her up. Outside, stars began to spark over the ridge. Mara breathed the cool night air. I'll try, she whispered. Cole nodded. That's enough. As they walked toward the house, Mara felt her steps align with his. Across the pasture, lanterns glowed near the road, proof that Clara was already preparing something for everyone to see. The next morning, when Mara and Cole rode into town again, past a house stepped from his porch. Good day to you both, he called. Mara offered a small smile. Morning, Pastor. He nodded kindly. Pay no mind to loose tongues. Folks reveal more about themselves than those they judge. As they passed, Lewis whispered from the wagon yard, people are choosing sides, Mara. Some reckon Clara's stirring trouble. Finch added, town's waking up to truth, slow as molasses. Mara's heartbeat steadied at the thought. Tonight. Dry Creek's annual gathering glowed beneath rows of lanterns strung across the square, their warm light pooling over dust, boots, and the slow shuffle of townsfolk. Mara walked between Cole and Finch, her shawl wrapped close. She tried to steady her breathing as fiddle notes rolled through the crowd. Cole glanced at her gently. You doing all right? He asked. She nodded, though her hands trembled. I need to be here, she whispered. He answered, then we'll stay right beside you. Mrs. Dowlow waved from her stall. Mara, dear, try the cornbread, she called. Mara managed a small smile. Thank you, she said, stepping closer. The woman's kind eyes softened. You're looking stronger every day. Mara lowered her gaze. I'm trying. Mrs. Dowlow patted her arm. Trying's how folks rise. Cole gave Mara a quiet nod, the kind that told her he agreed. It calmed her breath. As music picked up, Lewis pointed toward the small stage across the square. They're starting the announcements, he said. Lanterns flickered against the wooden boards where Clara stood adjusting her bonnet with a sharp tilt of pride. Mara felt her stomach knot. Cole touched her elbow. Remember Willow, he murmured. Remember how steady you sat this morning. Mara exhaled slowly. I'll try to keep that steadiness, she said. Finch added, you've got more grit than you know. Clara lifted her voice. Evening all, she called. Lovely turnout. Nice to see Dry Creek filled with hard-working souls, though some here weren't wanted until recently. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Mara froze. Clara smirked. Some women don't know when they've been left behind. Takes a rescuer to drag him out of the dust. More laughter followed. Cole stiffened, but Mara touched his arm lightly, asking him silently to wait. His jaw set, though he stayed still. Clara paced the stage. I suppose we all ought to be grateful for these poor, hopeless cases finding a place to perch. Though I reckon some men can't help picking up strays. Makes them feel mighty important. Mara swallowed hard. Her legs trembled, yet she stepped forward. Cole saw it and whispered, "Easy." She lifted her chin. "No," she said softly. "I have to." He stepped back only enough to let her pass, though he stayed close behind her. Mara stopped at the foot of the stage. Her voice was thin at first. "I am tired of being someone you laugh at." Clara's smile sharpened. "Now look here," Clara said loudly. The little rescued woman's finally found her tongue. The crowd murmured. Mara gripped her shawl tighter. "You don't get to decide my worth," she said. Clara scoffed. "Worth? You had none." "That's why no one wanted." Mara flinched, and Clara paused triumphantly. Before Mara could answer, Cole stepped beside her, shoulders squared, face calm. "That's enough," he said. The crowd hushed. His voice carried with a quiet firmness more powerful than a shout. What happened at the auction was wrong. Folks here know it. Clara threw her hands up. "Oh please, Cole. Always the noble man." He shook his head. "Not noble. Just telling the truth. You all treated her like something beneath you. That wasn't law. That wasn't decency." Lewis and Finch moved closer behind them, forming a small, steady wall. Cole continued, "She is not something you jeer at because you're too proud to see your own cruelty." Clara stepped forward. "You think you can shame this town?" Cole looked across the faces watching him. "If they're decent, they'll shame themselves." Murmur spread. Boots shifted in the dust. The fiddle had fallen silent, leaving only lanterns crackling in the night air. Mara felt her breath tremble, but she stood straighter beside him. Cole turned to the crowd again. "You all know her story because you made it a spectacle. But you never cared to see the person in it. She is worth more than any of you ever saw." His words landed heavily. Clara's face reddened. "You're only saying that because you feel sorry for her," she snapped. Cole shook his head slowly. "No. I'm saying it because it's true." Mara looked out at the townsfolk, men shifting awkwardly, women clutching shawls tighter, a few lowering their eyes. She felt the weight of their stares, but something inside her steadied. "I don't need pity," she said. "I just want to live without being mocked." Mrs. Dowlow stepped closer to the front of the crowd, her voice gentle. "We all should want that." Others nodded faintly. Clara huffed. "You're all fools," she muttered. But her voice no longer stirred laughter. She stepped back from the edge of the stage, her confidence wavering. Cole remained quiet beside Mara, letting the silence speak for them both. Lantern light flickered across their faces, hers still trembling, his resolute. Around them, townsfolk exchanged uncertain looks. Some seemed ashamed. Others seemed angry. But for the first time, their gazes landed on Mara not as something to judge, but as someone choosing to stand tall. And Dry Creek now had to decide what to do with that truth. The square held its breath as lantern light flickered across unsettled faces. Mara stood still, her hands curled in her shawl while Cole waited beside her. No one spoke until Mrs. Dowlow stepped forward with a steadiness that softened the tension. She said, "We were wrong to let things go as far as they did." Her voice trembled slightly, but her eyes held firm on Mara. The pastor moved next, boots scraping gently across the dusty boards. He said, "Silence can wound same as cruelty, and many of us stayed silent." His admission settled over the crowd like drifting smoke. Emma stepped close behind him, her braid swinging softly in the lantern glow. She whispered, "Mara, we should have stood up for you that day." Luke followed, shifting awkwardly before speaking in a low, uneasy tone. He said, "I laughed because everyone else did, and I shouldn't have." Mara's breath wavered as townsfolk she barely knew stepped nearer with quiet remorse. Clara's face hardened, her pride collapsing beneath the shifting mood. She snapped, "You're all fools for letting her change the story." When no one supported her, she spun on her heel and stormed into the dark street. The sheriff eased through the parting crowd, hat in hand, shoulders lowered. He said, "The auction was mishandled, and apologies are owed to you tonight." Mara met his gaze, feeling the weight of his words carry through her chest. Cole stayed quiet, though his stance remained close enough to steady her. She lifted her chin and said, "There will be no call for vengeance tonight." The crowd quieted further, listening as she steadied her breath. She said, "All anyone needs is fairness, the same decency given to others." Her voice trembled, yet she did not look away. Cole watched her speak, pride warming the stern lines of his face. Mara continued, "No one must bow to shame forever." She held the shawl close, though her shoulders no longer bent beneath it. The lanterns hissed softly as wind brushed across the square. A few townsfolk stepped back to give her space, showing a quiet respect. Emma whispered, "She's braver than any of us knew." Lewis said, "Strength shows itself when folks finally choose to see it." Finch added, "Tonight changes things, whether people admit it or not." Mara looked across the lantern-lit faces and felt something shift inside her. The shame that once gripped her no longer held the same power. She stepped from the center, her boots brushing dust as the crowd opened a path. Cole walked beside her, silent but steady in the fading noise. The square grew calm behind them, leaving lanterns swaying in their wake. Mara breathed deeply, her steps surer with each quiet moment. Cole glanced her way and said, "You stood taller than anyone tonight." She answered softly, "Courage grows when people finally stop running from it." The two walked toward the dim path leading back to the ranch. Wind rustled the cottonwoods as stars settled over Dry Creek. Mara felt her heartbeat steady in a way it never had before. For the first time, courage stood stronger than the shadows that once ruled her life. Cole paused near the hitching rail, watching her expression soften beneath the starlight. He said, "Dry Creek saw your strength tonight, even if some pretend otherwise." Mara touched the shawl lightly, feeling its fabric settle like a promise kept. She said, "Shame used to feel heavier than the weight carried in this town." Cole nodded slowly, his eyes steady as wind brushed dust around their boots. He answered, "Strength rises when truth finally has room to breathe." Mara looked toward the distant hills glowing faintly beneath the rising moon. She whispered, "Courage grows louder when shadows lose their hold." As they walked on, a quiet certainty settled within her, steady as the open plains. Night air carried her newfound calm gently. Life on the ranch settled into a quieter rhythm as the seasons eased forward, and Mara moved through each day with a steadiness she had never known. She cooked beside Lewis in the warm kitchen, learned simple recipes, and laughed softly when he teased her about burning biscuits. Dust drifted through the open windows, turning the light golden as she worked, and her hands no longer trembled when she reached for bowls or spoons. Emma visited often, skipping across the yard with a book clutched against her chest, while Luke followed with patient steps. "Will you help again?" Emma would ask, eyes bright beneath the brim of her hat. Mara would nod, settling beside them on the porch. She guided Emma's reading, her voice steady, while Luke listened with quiet pride. The children's trust soothed old wounds she carried beneath her calm expression. Cole watched her sometimes as she worked, though never in a way that pressed upon her. "Willow saddled if you want a ride," he would say, voice low as a settling breeze. Mara would glance at the calm mare grazing near the fence, then at Cole's patient eyes, and answer, "I think I'd like that." The lessons became gentler moments, shaped by soft reins and slow confidence. Some evenings they rode together through the open fields, where the sky stretched wide and painted the horizon in warm streaks of fading light. Mara felt the wind comb through her hair, carrying away the heaviness she once wore like a shroud. "You're steadier each day," Cole would remark. She would answer softly, "Maybe the land is teaching me." He smiled, knowing the change came from her own strength. With each passing week, Mara's steps grew lighter as she crossed the yard, the soft crunch of dust beneath her boots no longer reminding her of harsh footsteps behind her. Lewis noticed the change first. "You're carrying yourself taller," he commented one morning while cleaning tack. Mara paused, surprised. "I suppose I am," she murmured. He grinned and said, "That's what happens when a person remembers the world can be decent." Old Finch added his approval in gruff tones, tapping his cane against the porch. "Strength ain't loud," he muttered. "It's steady." "You've got steady now." Mara met his gaze, seeing no pity there, only the weathered certainty of someone who had watched countless storms break and pass. "Thank you," she whispered. Finch huffed, waving her off. "Don't thank me. Just keep standing upright. That's all any of us can do." One late afternoon, after chores were finished and the sun dipped low behind the cottonwoods, Mara joined Cole on the porch. He was mending a bridle, hands moving with familiar ease. "You've been quiet today," he said without looking up. She hesitated, then answered, "Quiet in a good way." He set the bridle aside and studied her face. The gentle lines around his eyes softened. "You're allowed to rest, Mara." She breathed slowly, feeling the truth of his words settle deep inside her chest. They watched the sky slowly melt into shades of rose and amber, the cool breeze brushing across the porch boards. Mara held her shawl close around her shoulders, though the evening was gentle. "This place," she said softly, "never asked me to hide." Cole nodded, gaze fixed on the horizon. "No place should." She felt her throat tighten. "You gave me room to breathe again." He shook his head. "No. You did that yourself. I only opened a door." The word settled between them like a quiet promise. In the following days, Mara found herself waking with a sense of belonging that no longer felt fragile. She walked the pastures with Willow at her side, her steps confident in the soft morning dust. When she returned to the porch one evening, Cole stood there, leaning against the post as though waiting. "Long day?" he asked. She smiled, a slow and certain curve of her lips. "A good one." He nodded, content. She placed her old worn boots beside his on the porch, the gesture quiet yet reverent, as though marking her place in the world at last. The frontier stayed harsh, yet hope finally stood taller.